watching ABC4 News, celebrating 75 years.
Welcome back. I'm Chief Political Correspondent Glenn Mills. Utah Congressman Chris Stewart's resignation announcement has sent shockwaves through the state and national politics. Already, speculation churning about who will replace the Utah House delegation's most senior member. Joining us now to dig into this is Jason Perry. He is the director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics up at the University of Utah. Jason, always glad to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be with you, Glenn.
Before we get into the certain impact this will have on the political landscape here at home, start off with Representative Stewart's legacy. What legacy will he leave?
Well, he's been in this office. This is his sixth term, which is very interesting and unique. But he's been on some very, very important committees. And I think that's going to be his legacy. One, on the Intelligence Committee. He's been part of our military efforts abroad, what's happening overseas and the United States positioning there. That's a big one. The other one is that he's been on the House Appropriations Committee, which has been a very big thing for the state of Utah, which means he's been able to bring money to the state of Utah, not just his own district, but through the rest of the state. That has been a very powerful position for him, both looking after military and looking after the interests of the state of Utah. I think people look back and they will realize he did bring things to the state.
He has a really interesting record if you look at it. He really jumped on a lot of important issues, but he also was one of two representatives from the state of Utah that voted to block Pennsylvania's vote count in the Electoral College back in the 2020 election. But then on the other end of that, of course, that made Democrats very upset with him. But on the other end of that, he also has a legacy of leading a bipartisan effort to create the 988 hotline for suicide prevention.
Yeah, this suicide prevention hotline is a significant thing that he was not just a supportive of, but helped to drive. And that is a legacy that will go on. I will tell you, he started something else in his time there, dealing with social media, children accessing social media, who's responsible and what age. And not only will he be known for starting that effort, but the state of Utah was behind that federal effort as well. And as we see both the suicide prevention efforts going forward, and as we see what's happening on that other key issue for him dealing with social media, I predict we keep bringing his name up for some time.
Okay, let's talk more about this. Obviously, Jason, a bombshell announcement. How does it shake up the landscape here in the state of Utah when it comes to our politics?
It is a bit of a bombshell. People who are interested in these positions, people who want to run for these positions, believe me when I say they are plotting out the next open spot. They know exactly when it comes open. They know when they need to start their campaign, when they need to start getting signatures that they're going to, and when they start exploring. This changes all of the calculations now. Many people were thinking about the Senate race, if Senator Romney does or doesn't decide to run. There's a group of candidates that were looking at that one. Some of them are going to shift their attention to this particular race. Of course, one person will win. Those people may then shift their attention to the governor's race here in the state of Utah. The shifting politics right here is something very interesting to watch, and it'll be so interesting to see who comes forward.
I wonder how this impacts even like a Trent Staggs, who has already declared to run for Senate, or Speaker Wilson, who's exploring a Senate run. They could potentially say, maybe this is the opportunity for me. I've heard other names, obviously. State Senator Todd Weiler interested. Former Senate candidate Becky Edwards is being thrown around. Maybe a Thomas Wright gets in the race. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, Southern Utah is a prominent part of this district as well. Does that potentially open up a path for any candidate down in the southern end of the state?
It absolutely does. And this is wide open right now. I mean, that's what's so unique about it. And this district is really, really big. A lot of great potential candidates in this district from parts of Davis County all the way down south to Washington County and St. George. There are some rural people who are interested in being a candidate that I think will come forward. As we know, you don't have to live in your district necessarily to be in the House, but this district is so big, I can easily see someone from Southern Utah saying it's time for a representative from that part of the state to come forward.
Okay, Jason, one more point I want to hit on. The rules have changed since we had our last special election when Representative Chaffetz stepped down. Walk us through some of the changes and how it will be different this time.
This is 2017, and the law has changed since that time on a vacant position. In fact, this will be the very first test of the legislation that was just passed in 2020 that has become the law. And it is interesting to see how this may play out, particularly considering the timing of this announcement. Keep in mind, Congressman Stewart has not said the day that he will be stepping down. And all of it starts on that day. Within 7 days of that vacancy occurring, the governor will issue a proclamation setting the timeline in place for the primary election and also for the special general election. What's interesting and why it's so unique right now is there are timelines in place. Within 90 days of that proclamation is when, by statute, you would have this first primary. And then 90 days from that time is when you would have, in theory, the possibility of having the special election. Everything is kind of thrown here with the potential of the legislature in coordination with the governor, maybe meeting a special session to change those timing, the timing of those elections.
Definitely would not rule that out. Jason, excellent insight. Thanks so much for being here and sharing your perspective with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now we'll head over to Alana with a look at what's coming up in the forecast.